Hello everyone, welcome back to episode 4 of the Game Maker Studio tutorials for the absolute beginner. My name is Reese, and today what we are going to be working on is the horizontal collision for our player object and also a jump feature. So again, this is using the drag and drop system in Game Maker, and I must warn ahead of time that because this is using Game Maker's internal collision system, it can be a tiny bit glitchy, which is why I always recommend trying to code the collision system yourself. But we will be working on our own collision system in the future of this series, but for the time being we just want to get something that's functional. So the first thing I've done, I've actually modified the room. So essentially I've given the player small platforms that you can work on, or walk on, sorry, and I could actually add more blocks to this if I wanted to. So I could put like one there, for example, and then he can jump across and stuff. So hit OK on that, and then you can do essentially what you want to the level. We don't need the block. And in the step event, in the last video, what we did was set the vertical collision. Now what I want you to do, we can actually select all of this by selecting the question and then hold the shift key on your keyboard and then left click at the end of the block, like so. And then we can either press Ctrl C to copy, or we can simply right click and then copy. That will actually copy all those 5 events that we've just selected. Then at the very bottom we can either press Ctrl V or we can right click paste, like so. So it's actually put the vertical speed below, so we need to move that above to the top. And then the next thing we want to do, one other thing to note while I'm here, if you end up pasting it and you end up with something like that looks like let me just think. It looks like that, for example. So like you've got 2 indentations. That's because you've ended up opening 2 blocks of code, and they're ending in different places. So to fix that, you just want to make sure the start of the block begins after a question, and then it ends when you set the speed. So notice we've got 2 there. So what I can do, I can actually drag the block, put it below the question like so, and it's actually changed the indentations. And yeah, that's because we want this code to execute when we check the horizontal collision. So to check the horizontal collision anyway, simply double click it, and then as opposed to V speed, we're going to set that to 0 in the Y, but because we're working with horizontal collision, we're using the X axis. So simply change the 0 in this to H speed, like so, and make sure that it's relative. H speed is for horizontal speed of the object. It's an inbuilt variable into the object, should I say. Now that we've got that, we can move to contact in a direction. Now this is 5 at the moment. I'm actually going to decrease it slightly. I'm going to say like 2.5. Just because we want the horizontal collision to be less intensive as the vertical, and then the direction is fine, and the solid objects we want to leave that as solid. With vertical speed here, we want to select that and press the delete key, because we're not actually setting vertical speed for the horizontal collision, we're setting the horizontal speed. So go to the move tab and then drag across this arrow, the horizontal one here, and then move it below the move to contact event. Now again, like the vertical speed, we simply set this to 0 and hit OK. So now if I run the game, let's just check this horizontal collision and make sure that it's all working. So I've got my player here, and yeah, notice he stops when I move like left and right. I'm actually holding the left key right now and he's not moving, so and vice versa if I press the right key. But at the moment, we can't actually get him out of this small ditch here. We actually want to allow him to jump, but it's actually rather easy to do this. So all you need to do is add another event, and then we're gonna go to the keyboard event like previously, and then we're gonna select space. And the space key in this game is actually going to be used to jump. And the vertical speed, all you need to do is set the vertical speed so that it equals something like minus 12.5, for example, and make sure that it isn't relative. Now if we hit OK and then try to run the game again, it's actually moving the player up the screen when he jumps now. So we've got his jump feature working. Now we can actually like move about in our level, and notice it's actually a tiny bit like too powerful, this jump, I think. So I might tone it down just a tiny bit, and notice how it's actually causing a small collision issue there where he's like crouting his corner against the corner of a brick. That is because he's actually bounced back down again, and he's gone too far into like the block to actually like reverse the change with the V speed that we've actually set. So we can actually try reducing this vertical speed. Set it to like 10 for example, and then that should fix it. So yeah, so he jumps much less now, as opposed to what he did before. But there is actually one bug with this still, and the problem is I can actually press jump, but while I'm in the air I can jump again, and we don't want him to do that. We don't want him to be able to jump once. So to fix that, what you need to do is essentially prevent him from jumping while he's in the air. And it's not really too big of a fix, but I will show you how to do that. So in the space event where we set in the vertical speed, go to the control tab and then add another condition. And then in this condition, all we need to do, set Y to something like 2, for example, and then check the relative box as well. I think that should work. So that's actually checking 2 pixels below the player, and if it's solid then we can jump. But then if we're in the air, notice I'm pressing the space key and I'm not jumping like once I'm in the air. I'm only jumping when I'm on the ground, which is what we want. So yeah, that is it for this video. I hope you found it informative. And in the next video, what I want to cover is small coin collection features, and there was another thing, I'm sure there was, but we'll cover that mystery surprise in the next video. But until then, thanks for watching.